You want to listen to a podcast?
By who?
Georgia GOP Congressman Doug Collins.
How is it?
The greatest thing I have ever heard in my whole life.
I could not believe my ears.
In this house, wherever the rules are disregarded, chaos and mob rule. It has been said today, where is bravery? I'll tell you where bravery is found and courage is found. It's found in this minority who has lived through the last year of nothing but rules being broken, people being put down, questions not being answered. And this majority say, be damned with anything else. We're going to impeach and do whatever we want to do. Why? Because we won an election. I guarantee you, one day you'll be back in the minority and it ain't gonna be that fun. Hey everybody, welcome to Friday. If you're not a Democrat this morning, you've got to be feeling a little bit better. If you are a Democrat, and especially Jeff Duncan, Adam Kinzinger, a couple of you out there in that very crowded atrium in the Capitol in the state of Georgia the other day when you endorsed Joe Biden, you might be needing to put in a call to the life coach at this point. There may be a problem as we're going along from last night's debate. Chip's here, James is here. We're on Friday. This is a lot to digest here as we go through on this debate from last night, and the absolute apoplectic calls from Democrats last night that went on. And you know, we're going to talk about that because I think there's also some old school Democrat operatives who've been warning about this for the whole time. Come to mind James Carville and others who are being laughed at, ridiculed, and mocked. Nobody's mocking anymore. Only Jill Biden's yelling. It's Friday's finest here on the Doug Collins podcast. We'll be right back after commercial. We are experiencing instability at every level. Our government lacks leadership, and Bidenomics has been a disaster. The economy is in a fragile state. Inflation has been a consistent issue. High interest rates have put significant pressure on the real estate market, and there have been major bank failures. And many analysts say a stock market correction is likely overdue. We have global conflicts in Europe and the Middle East that have potential to spread, but gold has soared to record highs even among the tensions. There are so many reasons that Americans should consider investments in gold and silver, and Legacy Precious Metals is the gold standard. I love Legacy Precious Metals because of their zero-hassle, education-first approach. They can help you roll your traditional IRA into a gold IRA or ship metals directly to your house. That's what I do. So go to www.legacypminvestments.com to download their free gold investment guide. And look, I've read it. You need to read it. There's so much valuable information in there. So friends, now's the time to not roll the dice with your hard-earned money. Find out about the growth potential that gold and precious metals can offer you. Contact Legacy Precious Metals today and tell them that Doug Collins sent you. You might have heard Mike Lindell and MyPillow no longer have the support of the box stores or the shopping channels as the way they used to. They've been part of the cancel culture, so they want to pass the savings directly on to you by having a $25 extravaganza. When Mike started MyPillow, it was just one product company. With the help of his dedicated employees, they now have hundreds of products. Some of you may not even know about that. So to get the word out, I want to invite my listeners to check out the $25 extravaganza. 2-pack multi-pillow use MyPillows are just $25. MyPillow sandals, $25. Their 6-pack of towel sets, $25. Brand new 4-pack dish towels. You guessed it, just $25. And for the first time ever, the MyPillows with all new Giza fabric, just $25. All orders over $75 will see free shipping too. This amazing offer won't last long, so go to mypillow.com and use the promo code Collins, that's COLLINS, or call 800-986-3994 today. That's promo code Collins. Okay, Chip. I mean, we can talk about a lot. Where do you want to start? I mean, this was just.
Well, I mean, I was just before you said where do you want to start. What was in my head was where do we start?
Yeah,
I mean, where do you start?
One of the things I want to get out here quick in this process, because it's sort of a personal issue to me. You and I have worked campaigns before, and I've been a part of this, and we've been. But I think look, mainstream media is not going to report this. Period. End of statement. They're just not going to. They're going to blow this part that I'm getting ready to talk about completely out of the water. But for the first time, a few years ago, I used to say that today is the best time to be a conservative because now Democrats admit that they want gun control. They admit that they want more taxes. They admit that they want bigger government. And now they've sort of crossed the next rail. And you had the president of the United States say Democrats want abortion anytime, anywhere, for any reason. Sex selection, 40 weeks, even conceivably afterbirth, but also, anything that they want here. We believe the first time that's ever been said out loud by the main party candidate of the Democrats. It's in their platform, but he actually said it last night. And Trump had the fair wherewithal to actually remind Joe that's exactly what Roe v. Wade did. Now, you may not like Trump's answer, and I know there's friends of mine who don't like Trump's answer, but that right now, look, the Democrats have so many problems they're trying to cover up this morning. That's one that will definitely never see the light of day.
It won't see the light of day because of everything else, that Joe Biden did in that debate, right? I mean, what wasn't the news that came out of the debate. I mean, I remember, we did this podcast last Friday, Doug, and I just said I've never looked forward to a presidential debate more in my life. Now, did I know exactly what was going to happen? No, none of us did, right? That's why we look forward to the debate. But I tell you, we all know, I mean, it's no secret that there's been a cognitive decline. I mean, that's not a secret. But where I really, when I really realized that I just don't think he can make it through a 90-minute debate, he gave an interview to David Muir when he was in Normandy. And I watched that interview, and I remember saying, I really can't believe they're going to let him debate. He won't make it through. And he didn't make it through. I mean, yes, he made it to the end and he had a pulse, but it was sad. I mean, just from a human perspective, it was really tough to watch. But I tell you though, I've always said, the social media platform of Twitter, I still call it Twitter, even though Elon Musk wants me to call it X. It was made for nights like last night.
Oh yeah.
And it was made for mornings like the morning that Scotty Scheffler got arrested. I just don't, I don't see a way out. I don't see a clean way out of this for Democrats. I mean, there's lots of options. There are lots of options that they have. I mean, I've seen people say, well, Democrats have no options. No, they actually have quite a few, but none of them are really that good. And look, give Donald Trump credit, Doug. He saw what we saw, and he saw what the country saw. He saw what the world saw.
Yep. And
he got out of the way.
Yeah.
And that's a big deal. I mean, that shows me how much he's learned since the last campaign. And I think he deserves a lot of credit for, Donald Trump knew if he could just make it through the debate, this was the first debate that I think Donald Trump has been in out of the 6 that really wasn't about him.
Yeah, it was. I agree with you. I think the interesting part here too is, okay, let's just dive in. I mean, to that part right now that this replacement idea, the Obamas are behind it. They pushed him out there. Look, I don't think Jill Biden is behind it. Okay, I think she is. I mean, we've seen strong, female behind executives here. But, here's the facts, okay, for everybody out there saying, and you and I have talked about it, and it's something I think they want to do. They have a problem structurally, and there were several Democrats having commented about this morning. Unless Joe Biden says, I want out, unless he releases everybody and he steps down as nominee or dies, there's probably a provision there, which, nobody's, asking for a warning or anything else. In fact, that's just a natural. But if he's got to be the one to do this. I know that in states like Georgia and others, there's some legal bounding in the Democratic side on who they have to vote for at convention. Their own party rules because of if you remember, when they opted out of Bernie Sanders in 2016, when they did all these things, they began to have a process in which they have to they have to go along with the nominee. And I think that's going to make it very hard for them. Number two, the logical choice is Kamala Harris. And nobody on the Democratic Party wants that. I mean, they tried a little bit last night saying, oh, she's a great communicator and everything else. She comes on and she can't get through it. The third part I keep hearing, Chip, is this 25th Amendment argument. That ain't going to happen. There's no cabinet member going to put this on. So the question becomes for Democrats, never put him back on stage. It reminds me of the time, and you and I laugh about this all the time, that I did a first debate in a runoff in 2012, and it was 2012, and it was just one of those times when I thought, well, we made it through it. You thought, God, this was terrible. Just pathetic. And you basically said, we're just going to do paid media for the next 2 weeks. I mean, they got 4 months to do this. I just don't see them putting him back up on stage. I just don't see. And if Trump, I wouldn't agree to another one if I was Trump.
Well, look, a lot to unpack there, right? I don't disagree with anything that you've said. The one thing I would add, or the one observation I would make is, and look, we're the whole world, the whole country, all the talk radio, all the cable news, all the network news, we're all speculating right now as to what the next move's going to be. I actually think the door is open now to Joe Biden voluntarily stepping aside.
And that's the only way right now.
What's that?
And that's the only way.
That's the only way. But I think that will begin to manifest itself because, look, I'm a Republican. I'm a conservative. I wasn't voting for Joe Biden. I won't vote for whoever replaces him. But if you're a Democrat and you wanted to defeat Donald Trump, this is not your guy. And the next person might not be either. But what we do know is, and look, Van Jones was on the CNN panel. I really enjoyed watching the first 30 minutes of CNN after the debate because watching Kate Bedingfield and Van Jones and David Axelrod and really all the CNN talent was just priceless. I mean, you can't replicate something like that. But even Van Jones said, and Van Jones probably the one person on that stage that's the most progressive and the most liberal.
I know.
Even Van said, it's just a bad night tonight because I know that he's a good man.
Yeah.
And when you start saying stuff like that, I mean, it was just so bad. I mean, you can't have him. And so, but I think the problem is, so how does he exit stage right with it being his decision? And I think right now he could say, guys, I love my country. My country's given more to me than I've ever given to it. And I just tried my best, but Father Time is undefeated.
Yeah.
And Father Time has always been undefeated. And, he just didn't have a bad debate, Doug. History says when you have a bad debate in a historical context, you go back and you watch film and you come up with a different game plan and you learn from your mistakes. This is not something he can fix.
No, this isn't a mistake. And I think that
this is something that gets worse over time, not better.
Yeah. I retweeted last night, and Rachel Bade, who you and I both know at Politico up in DC, put out the difference, something to the effect of the difference between him and the State of the Union is massive. And I retweeted that and said, can you imagine what it's going to be like in 4 months? I mean, and
100%.
And for those of us who have lived with dementia, with the old age issue, and again, I'm just going to willing to call it what it is. It's older age. He's just having a lot of health issues. He's there. Whether it's early onset Alzheimer's, whether it's dementia, whether it's just Joe being Joe, whatever, it doesn't get better, folks. I'm going to tell you. I mean, I've had parents. I've had a parent. I've had in-laws. I've pastored a church in which I saw it on a regular basis. And what will happen is, and here's the problem they've got. And I don't know if anybody's willing to talk about this. And I'm saying this with respect, okay? Because I think this is a medical issue that they're dealing with. When you don't notice the decline if you're seeing someone every day, okay? You notice it in bits and pieces. Where you notice it is, and this is where the Biden team has the issue. They know they really can't put him out all the time. So what happens is you go a week and you see him 2 or 3 times. Hopefully they keep him in, check. He doesn't freeze up. He does anyway. And then for 2 or 3 weeks, you keep him off camera. Well, then the next time he comes back on, the facial expressions, who was it last night said something about this blank stare and the open mouth? I mean, that's your class. It just gets worse is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. I mean, look, we've all seen it, whether it's with our family members or friends of family members. I mean, the State of the Union was only 4 months ago.
Yep.
And he was sharp at the State of the Union, and it surprised me. I mean, look at the decline in 4 months. Can you imagine where he's going to be 4 months from now? And so, look, I would be, at this point in time, I would be surprised if he doesn't agree to step aside by the convention. Now, look, I wouldn't be shocked, but I'd be surprised, right? I mean, but if he does, I mean, they have created within their party an identity politics construct that now I don't think they can back themselves out of. And you mentioned it earlier. Nobody in the Democratic Party believes that Kamala Harris is option B, right? I mean, it's just not. If it really does go to a convention where there is a floor fight and a floor vote, it's going to get ugly and nasty, and it's going to get closer to the election, and there are going to be hurt feelings, and there's going to be identity politics fallout because Joe Biden picked Kamala Harris as vice president, and he said so before he picked her. He said, "I'm picking a minority woman."
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Maybe he said that about Ketanji Brown Jackson. I don't know. I don't know that he said that about the VP pick. I think he just said I'm picking a woman. But now you're in the position where if the nominee is not an African-American female, there are going to be base problems that are bigger than the ones he's having right now with Israel and Palestine. And so, I think I think part of the discussion to get him out and part of the discussion for him to get out, I think, is going to be negotiating a replacement so that there's not a floor fight at the convention. And that I don't know that they can pull.
I don't think they can. Look, they've shown, when they're having to send Ro Khanna out of California into Michigan to talk to the Arab Palestinian vote in Michigan, when they're having to send, and they're sending in surrogates who are getting killed because they can't send Joe Biden into those conversations. They can't send Kamala Harris into those conversations. It just shows you the issues they have with their fractured base right now. Look, polling is already showing that, they're losing historical numbers. Now, again, and I say this, and I don't want to be like every other, a lot of these other conservative people out there who say, oh my God, we got 25% of the African-American vote. Okay, if you get 25% of the African-American vote in November, it's historic, and this is a 50-state sweep. Okay? It's going to be more in the 12 to 15 range, and even that is historic. Okay?
Yeah.
So let's get over this kind of stuff. So they're having trouble already. Hispanic votes are already having trouble with. Last night, more specifically, Joe Biden could not deal with the immigration issue, which was, I will say this: the first 45 minutes to an hour of this debate, hands down, Donald Trump stayed focused, stayed in. You may not have liked his answers, but they were consistent answers, and he never raised his voice. He never did the back and forth. Biden, I even texted you about this. and I don't think again, this is also a case of symptoms of mind that is struggling. Okay. When you're cussing in and it's not what you do all the time. Where the hell, where did he come up with it? That is a symptom of someone who is so struggling to come out with something that they get frustrated. I've seen it in family members. I've seen it in others. But that first 45, 50 minutes, now the last 30 minutes sort of just deteriorated. Neither one of them answered questions. I remember Tapper desperately trying to get them to talk about childcare. Neither one of them talked about childcare. They just wanted to talk about who was the worst president in history. And then they got into the classic, I've seen your golf swing. Oh my God. That was just, again, we're talking about this. And and as James's favorite quote of the whole night, you have the morals of an alley cat. I mean, like, where did that come from? So, these are the kind of things. But it was amazing. And then the first question of the night really came in the first back and forth. He ended and here's the thing: everybody thought Trump was going to have trouble with the lights. It was Biden who had trouble with the lights, and he came up then, and we killed Medicare.
Doug, it reminds me of the song, Video Killed the Radio Star.
Yeah.
Because, you bring up a very good point, which is, you and I spoke a couple times during the debate last night, and you didn't tell me that you were in an automobile, but I sensed that you weren't watching the debate.
Right.
I just did because, I know you were on your way back from opening up a Trump office in another part of the state, but I remember you telling me how bad this was going for Biden, and you could just listen. You didn't see at the time.
Right. At
the time, you couldn't see how bad it was. Worse when you visualized it. Mike Murphy, who and Mike is very smart, operative. He doesn't like Trump. He's made no bones about it. He was John McCain's media vendor, and he's kind of switched teams now. He's a Democrat. And he's a Biden supporter, and he supported Joe Biden. And it was just kind of fun watching his tweet storm yesterday because it was he was venting, right? And he and he kind of crystallized. He crystallized, what Democrats were going through as they were watching that debate with this one tweet. And it was just real simple. It said, Biden's listening face is a real visual problem. It's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
That's it. That was the tweet. And that really kind of summed up, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and you are correct with everything you said on the abortion issue, right?
Yeah.
You're correct with Biden's answer on that, but I don't know that anything that any of the candidates said last night about policy, I don't know that any of that sticks.
Yeah.
Because I think what people took out of the debate was profound. And that is, how dare his family put him. I mean, it just as a human being, this is close to being over. And by the way, Doug, I'm not talking about the election.
No, I agree. Look, I said this before, Chip. I've said it on this podcast. James can go back and find the clips. I have said I blame his staff and I blame him, just like I did John Fetterman. I blame John Fetterman's staff. Now, Fetterman has gotten better. Okay, in fact, he's come off in a whole different light. But when he was struggling, I blamed his staff. They were milking him. Okay.
Yeah.
Biden is now, and Jill Biden she came out very badly last night in many. I've seen some, comments.
Oh.
I mean, the picture of him getting walked off of stage when he had to actually, he was honestly trying to figure out how to get to that first step. If you look at the video, you can't make this up. It's not a fake video. It's real. It's there. He's doing that. I'm turning sideways and putting my foot down. And then she gets on afterwards, almost like a toddler. You did so good. You answered all the questions. And it's like, she come off as, this sort of backroom figure is like, oh my God, your husband just had a bad night. Take him into the back room. And then did you see they showed up at a Waffle House near Truist Park last night?
No.
Yes. There's pictures.
No, I did not. I saw that he went to a post-debate party.
Yeah.
I did not see the Waffle House.
They did a Waffle House. Not a lot of people were there. He's shuffling around with a Waffle House cup of coffee in his hand. You know, he got some pictures with some folks. I mean, it was a staged event. They had to stage event because Trump did it in College Park at a Waffle House. You know, we know Joe. You and I both know Joe well. I mean, they're getting more Waffle House commercials out of this than anything else. But this was, I mean, people don't understand this, and I think they're now understanding. Look, you mentioned Mike Murphy. Joe Scarborough, you know, was just vehemently vile to the world about fake videos. Karine Jean-Pierre, you're making this stuff up. Trump team's doing AI video. This morning, after saying how much he loved him, he did the Van Jones and says it's now time for somebody to replace him. I mean, you got four. There was a picture it was on the memes. Every New York Times opinion writer today basically said the same thing. Trump, you know, Biden is over. Well, but here's my concern.
And since Murphy was on a tweet storm, I'm going to read you his tweet from 12:06 a.m., which is, and this is, you know, the big problem for Democrats, I think, going forward. Another post-debate problem for Biden. He's been making a strong argument, parentheses, latest TV spot, close parentheses, that the choice between Biden, who is fighting for the middle class, and Trump, who only cares about himself. Staying the Democratic nominee after tonight looks selfish. Undercuts the about you, not me badly. I mean, think about that.
Yeah.
Think about that. I mean, I mean, here's a guy that is supportive openly of Joe Biden, saying that all of a sudden now his argument about this is about himself. Wow. I mean, that's how far we've come since 9:00 last night.
It's just stunning, you know, to see what's actually, you know, going on here. But also let's take into account, nobody on the left media likes to talk about this, but it's said more than in many times, and everybody says that Obama is running this third term and everything else. Everybody forgets that Joe Biden was disrespected and cast off in many ways by Obama in 2016. They all but said, Joe, you know, we're with her, you know, kind of thing. With Hillary, they just basically, you know, told Joe, you know, these are stories that were all percolating in 16, 17, and everything else. I don't think they've ever reconciled in many ways there. I think that Obama's done the I have to be the statesman and be the bigger, so I'll come around. But every time they're there, you see the pictures of Obama getting mobbed at the White House, and you see Biden standing by himself. That's just an image that they, you know, that the Bidens, especially Jill Biden, and we have to remember this, Jill Biden is the enabler here, okay?
Yeah.
And, you know, I don't think, you know, this idea that the Obamas are behind getting him out or anything else, I think is a huge issue that they don't want to deal with. Here's the part, though, and let's turn this a little bit. I now see victory laps being done by every Trump surrogate, everybody, and it was a victory last night. You won it. And like you said earlier, I'm not sure that anybody will know what you said. This was a Nixon-Kennedy debate, and Nixon sweated and Joe Biden mumbled. I mean, that's the basic way this went. The question becomes now for Republicans. My fear is that the building momentum of Biden is an idiot, we're going to win hands down, nobody would vote for him, is going to fester even further. And my fear is overconfidence starts running into this campaign, not necessarily from the top, not from LaCivita and Wiles, but from surrogates and others, that we take the eye off the ball. We can't do that. Is that a concern for you, Chip?
It is. I mean, it naturally is because I mean, look, the races can never be over before voters start voting, right? I mean, it's, you know, I've learned a lot of things in this business. But one thing is and things change throughout elections, but one thing that's always remained constant, and that's voters always make the rules. It's not consultants, it's not candidates, it's not the media, it's not spouses of candidates. The voters always make the rules, and so the voters hadn't started voting yet. So yes, it is, but I think maybe even a greater concern is look. I think now he will be replaced, and I think he will agree to be replaced. I mean, whoever replaces him, and I don't know who it'll be, but they will have more energy. They will bring more energy to the ticket, and that's not hard. And so now all of a sudden you're going to have, but a byproduct of that is, I've spoken to. Many people, well, not many people, but I've spoken to some people who, aren't political and, they're suburban college educated voters, and they don't like Trump and they don't like Biden, right? They're the double haters. Yep. They're part of the double haters. And, they might consider voting for Biden, but I don't think those people would vote for Gavin Newsom. I really don't.
No, well, and this is
and I don't know that Gavin Newsom's going to be the replacement. What I'm saying is, if you're the Trump campaign, you just got to you have to be prepared for all these different scenarios.
Yeah. What Democrat would willingly be what could be termed a sacrificial lamb in this cycle? And I think Harris probably is the only one that they could probably talk into it. Because if Newsom's smart, he stays out of this mess. I mean, there's no riding in to save the Democratic Party here. Gavin Newsom is far left, admittedly, than even Joe Biden. The swing states of Georgia automatically goes off the map if Gavin Newsom is on the ticket. It's just.
I mean, I would think so. Yeah. I mean, I would think so, Doug. Conventional wisdom would agree with that sentiment.
I think you lose. Georgia goes off the map. North Carolina goes off the map. Virginia becomes dicey at best. I think it's still the Northern Virginia suburbs would pull that out for whoever, but it's still there. Even a Wisconsin, a Minnesota, and a Michigan. I mean, think about that for a second. You and I talk about this a lot, and people sometimes get frustrated with us. I know I get frustrated with the issues of money and voter patterns and everything else, but they're true, okay? And you have to do, just to simply make the change here is not simply make a change to a Newsom or a Moore out of Maryland, or Brashear out of Kentucky. I actually heard his name last night. But they've also got to be willing to sacrifice themselves, because they know if they lose this year, 28 for them is dead. They don't have a chance in 28. This would be a sort of hole through. But what does change in the dynamic, Chip, that they would have to account for in the swing states, or do possibly a state that is not swingy now become swing with a new Democrat?
Well, but look, Trump has broken the media, and he's also broken the Democratic Party.
Yeah.
I mean, let's face it. I mean, the Democratic Party today looks nothing like it. Both the Republican Party and the Democratic Party look nothing like they did before Trump came on the political stage. They look nothing like they did.
Right.
And we could have a discussion all day long about how Trump's made the how Trump's made the Republican Party better in some areas and maybe not as good in others. But that's neither here nor there. He's made the Democratic Party worse, because I guarantee you, Doug, and you know this just as well as I do, there's not a majority of those delegates at the convention that are thinking what you just said, which is, can we get an Andy Beshear or somebody? No, they're going to want somebody progressive.
Yep.
Somebody that fights for identity politics. Okay? That's who they are. That's their DNA. They can't get away from that. They're not the party of James Carville, Roy Barnes, and Andy Beshear anymore. They're just not. Or Roy Cooper. They're not. I mean, those are outliers in the Democratic Party now. I mean, they're not mainstream Democrats. And yeah, that would be the best type of candidate to put up against Trump. But I don't think there's any chance that they do. It's going to have to be somebody that checks the identity politics box.
Yeah.
And I mean, I like that because I think it gives us a good chance at winning. And look, no matter who it is, Doug, they're going to embrace the same policies that this administration.
Oh, exactly. Well, also, I want to hit one last thing before, and I want to move on this as well. But on this issue of the convention, the Democrat, you have to remember, unlike, and I'm saying this loosely, unlike the Republican delegates to the national convention, Democrat delegates are very much proportioned by groups. There's so many union people. There's so many teacher unions, labor unions. There's the diversity message in here. So these are people who are locked into that more radical liberal message. Just like, frankly, okay, I'm going to be honest, on the conservative side, you'll have far more conservative delegates at the Republican convention than you would in, say, your local Rotary meeting. But our conservatives are mainly fractured. They don't belong to a certain group necessarily. The Democrats are, though. They go in with union cards and marching papers. This is how we're going to vote, and this is how we're going to do it. I think it brings up a whole different map. Do you see now, if, let's just say this continues, Biden, everybody freaks out in the first 24 hours, okay? By this time next week, nothing really changes. He goes back to his normal. He goes to Delaware, the beach, and we're just trucking along. And Democrats get the sense of, look, he's not leaving. We got to live with this. Do you see a mass move of resources to Ohio, Montana, Arizona, Nevada, Pennsylvania to save the Senate for Democrats?
If that scenario that you just laid out manifests itself, yes, but it's a fool's errand because, as you know, how many times, even in recent history, in competitive Senate races, when there's a presidential race on the ballot, is there really a change in what happens at the top of the ticket and the race in the second of the ticket? It just, yes, it can happen mathematically, but it's to me, it's a fool's errand. And I don't know, Doug, this feels different. This one feels different. I don't know that, I don't know that it's just going to go back. I don't know that the Dems by next week, I don't know that the Dems go back to where they were at 8:59 yesterday.
How do you walk away from the comments? I think that's the question that comes there, Chip, and I think you just hit on something. I'm sorry to interrupt, but you just hit on, how does Scarborough walk back the comment, we got to find somebody else? How does Van Jones walk back the comment, we got to find somebody else? How does, these media types, the Jeff Duncans, which, by the way, I haven't seen anything out of our former Democratic lieutenant governor. He's probably in a meeting with his life coach right now. And also Adam Kinzinger and all these others, Liz Cheney, all these others. And now they've tried to whistle back to what we've talked about before. Oh, well, this is a threat to democracy. Democracy was fine while we had it. Again, that wasn't working before this debate. It's not going to work after this debate, going forward. But that's the company. Look, this is why I love Twitter and I hate Twitter. Okay. I love to look at the hot takes. Don't get me wrong. I mean, they're hilarious. And the memes on this thing, I mean, my goodness, they were on fire today and last night. But you don't walk those back, especially in the op-eds like in the New York Times today. You don't walk those back.
110%. You just hit the nail on the head. And that's why Democrats, so many prominent Democrats, I think did what they did at 10:30 to midnight last night. If they can somehow catch lightning in a bottle and right the ship between now and November, I think between 10:30 and midnight Eastern time last night was the most pivotal 90 minutes in the elections for the Democrats, because so many of them put themselves out there, and you can't walk those statements back. Even Jen Psaki.
Yeah.
Think about this. Even Jen Psaki was talking about the replace. So you can't, and so now all these people are going to be going, hey guys, we're going to support the Dem ticket, President Biden, if you decide to stay, we're going to do all we can. But remember, they now have all of these things that we all said and we all tweeted and we all talked about during this time period. So, how do we walk those back? You can't walk that back, because it's not like the problems that existed last night that can be fixed. They're only gonna get worse. And I would, just Google the David Muir interview with Joe Biden at Normandy. It was 3 weeks ago, but it looked a lot like what we saw last night. And it's just who he is right now. That's just who Joe Biden is. And look, I can't say it enough. Give Donald Trump credit for getting out of the way last night.
I agree completely.
He saw early on what the rest of us saw. And he, he said, look, I'm not going to make news this debate.
Yeah.
I'm going to let the guy 8 feet to the left of me be the news. And he did. And that takes an incredible amount of discipline. And I mean, he deserves all the credit in the world for it, because it's not in Trump's DNA to do that. And for an hour and a half, he let that debate be about Joe Biden, and that's what should have happened, and it did. And as a result, everybody in the political world is talking about Joe Biden today and not Donald Trump.
Exactly. And I think that's the most. And now you're going to go into an interesting contrast. Biden's going to go to North Carolina in a small crowd, grouping, that's not going to look very good in North Carolina, to a massive Virginia Chesapeake rally at 3:00 this afternoon with Donald Trump. And it's just going to play this scenario out further and further. Of what we've been seeing. But now, instead of the Democrats being able to sort of wash it off, they're going to have to they can't wash it off. They can't say that the small crowd, because again, you think about Philadelphia. Biden and Harris went to Philadelphia and had to do half an arena. Basically, Donald Trump went, I don't think it was the same arena, but basically the same size, and filled it up. No halving it, So I think this is going to become a long-term issue, for them, as they have to go through. I guess we'll just have to see how it all flows out from here. But I just don't. This is going to be a problem. I think it's going to be a down ticket problem that they're going to have to deal with. And you hit it. We both hit it. How how you walk back these diehard surrogates who've all said, "Hey, we got to change this." And then the massive issue it takes, and the Democrats have set themselves up on this democracy front. They keep saying, oh, we need democracy. And now they're going against democracy by taking out the very candidate that the Democrats picked, wanting to take out the very candidate the Democrats picked in the primary. I mean, you talk about hypocrisy.
It is all over the place, and it couldn't happen to a better party.
Yeah, I can't believe. Well, look, a lot of things going on today. James has been joining us as well, but we had to get in this debate topic. I mean, next week on Friday's Finest, we'll probably pick back up with the issue of Bronny and LeBron in L.A. So much for their title hopes for next year. And a lot of other. France has now taken over the NBA. You have Panama beating the United States in Atlanta last night. Not the only beatdown that happened last night in soccer. It was at the CNN Center. It was also at Mercedes-Benz. And James brought up the fact that we lost to Japan in football. I'm sorry. I can't. I mean, that to me is almost, undiscussable after the Biden thing last night. We just can't go there with that as we go. But folks, a lot of things going on. Chip, thanks for the input. James, thanks for all the help as well. We get ready for next week. Got 4th of July coming up in the next few weeks. We got Lee Zeldin on. We got Bruce Thompson on. We're going to have Patrick Murphy on, former Democrat from Pennsylvania is going to be on with us, former Ship Admiral, talking about a lot of things. But we're also going to have Friday's Finest, got a lot of political leftists up. And just think, folks, we're 130 days away from an election. I think it is something like that. Chip, what do you think about last word? What do you think where do we think we are when we do Friday's Finest next Friday? I mean, last week we were saying this is going to be the most watched. Now, a week from today, 4th of July weekend, what do you think?
I think there will be leaks about internal discussions within the White House on an exit strategy.
Yep. It'll be interesting to see how they actually do that. So we'll see. Look, folks, I think they're going to have this conversation. I don't think you see Joe Biden after today. Would not overly shock me. They canceled today's rally in North Carolina, but I think they have to go through with it. And then you won't see Joe Biden until if you see him at all, you'll see him after the 4th of July. I think he makes 0 public appearances, 0 questions, 0 anything for the next 10 to 15 days after this. I don't see how you can bring him back out as we go forward. So with that, folks, that's another Friday's Finest here. The day after the debate, Atlanta came, and I did see a funny one because you have to remember Georgia politics, and this is something that would be for applicable to us. I saw an interesting tweet last night that said the Democrats hadn't had as bad a day in Georgia since Sherman came through Atlanta.
Wow.
So that's about true from last night. So that's it with us here on the Doug Collins Podcast. Folks, also, I know many of you may have been trying to email me on the DougCollinsPodcast.com. We have had some technical difficulties. Salem Technical Department undoubtedly just forgot to fix it. They hopefully have fixed it by now. So if you want to go to the DougCollinsPodcast.com, hit the email button. You can get with us, talk about speaking. If you need me to come speak somewhere, if you want to just have a conversation about what we've been talking about on the podcast, please do so. Sorry, we didn't know that was happening, but now we do, and we're working to have it fixed. So with that, everybody, we'll see you next time on the Doug Collins Podcast.